Professor Namyong Lee's commentary, long. In the digital age, political banners must be removed to improve urban aesthetics and eliminate social waste. The core of this issue is not emotion or aesthetics, but numbers. Government and local government data have consistently shown that approximately 6,000 tons of political banners are generated every year. The figure of 6,000 tons may not be intuitive at first glance, but when converted into quantities and costs, the true scale of the problem becomes unmistakably clear. A typical political banner made of polyester, peat, weighs on average about 1.8 to 2.2 kilograms per piece. Using a conservative estimate of 2 kilograms per banner, this means that roughly 3 million banners are produced, installed, removed, and discarded nationwide each year. This is not a temporary phenomenon limited to election seasons. It is a structural waste that recurs continuously throughout the year. Let us now calculate the costs in a straightforward manner. The average production cost of a single political banner varies by size and material, but it typically ranges from KRW 25,000 to KRW 35,000. Using a midpoint estimate of KRW 30,000, the production cost alone for 3 million banners amounts to approximately KRW 90 billion. Installation costs must then be added. Labor and equipment costs per banner generally range from KRW 15,000 to KRW 25,000. Using an average of KRW 20,000 results in installation costs of approximately KRW 60 billion. At this stage alone, the total has already reached KRW 150 billion. The problem does not end there. Banners must inevitably be removed, and a significant portion are taken down directly by local governments because they are illegal or exceed permitted display periods. According to local government standards, the removal cost per banner, including labour and vehicle expenses, averages between KRW 8,000 and KRW 12,000. Using a conservative estimate of KRW 10,000 per banner, removal costs alone reach approximately KRW 30 billion. Once removed, banners have very limited recyclability and are mostly incinerated or landfilled. Waste disposal costs average KRW 200,000 to KRW 300,000 per ton. For 6,000 tons, this translates into a minimum of KRW 12 billion and a maximum of KRW 18 billion. Even using an average estimate of KRW 15 billion is reasonable. When all of these costs are aggregated, the direct annual costs generated by political banners amount to approximately KRW 90 billion in production, KRW 60 billion in installation, KRW 30 billion in removal, and KRW 15 billion in disposal, for a total of about KRW 195 billion. Additional costs are not even included in this figure. Increased accident risks caused by obstructed traffic visibility, administrative expenses related to complaints and enforcement, environmental damage, and the deterioration of local images due to visual pollution have not been quantified. Therefore, it is reasonable to conclude that the true social cost of political banners is at least KRW 200 billion per year, and in reality likely far higher. These costs are not borne by political parties or politicians. They are entirely shifted onto taxpayers and society as a whole. To understand why this massive waste is repeatedly reproduced, we must examine the structural context. South Korea has 254 single-member National Assembly districts and a total of 300 lawmakers, including proportional representation. In addition, there are 17 metropolitan and provincial governors, 226 mayors and county heads, approximately 824 metropolitan and provincial council members, and about 3,500 local council members. In election years, the number of official candidates alone reaches several thousand, and when preliminary candidates and party-level promotional actors are included, the number of entities installing banners increases exponentially. As long as the structure of competitive over-installation persists in each district, the total volume of banners cannot decrease. This is partly an enforcement issue under the Public Official Election Act, but more fundamentally, It reflects the fact that political communication remains anchored to physical space. Banners create the illusion of being cheap and fast, but when total social costs are considered, they are the most inefficient method available. Politicians experience only a fraction of the cost, while the remainder is distributed across local governments and citizens. This is a textbook case of external cost transfer and represents a failed design in both market and policy terms. Now consider the cost structure of digital transformation. If physical banners are fully replaced with digital banners, namely a public digital political communication platform, the cost structure changes entirely. The construction of an integrated digital platform at the national or local government level, including initial development, can be accomplished within several tens of billions of won. For example, even if nationwide system development costs are set at KRW 30 billion and annual operating costs at KRW 10 billion, the total annual cost would be approximately KRW 40 billion. This is 1/5 of the minimum KRW 200 billion currently spent on physical banners, and once the system stabilizes, operating costs can be reduced further. Furthermore, by combining regional digital boards, public electronic displays, and mobile-based official communication channels, the same message can reach a far larger audience. In digital formats, production costs approach zero, and the concepts of installation and removal effectively disappear. Content can be updated in real time, and no waste is generated. Even a simple comparison shows that costs can be reduced by at least 90% compared to physical banners. This conclusion is not an exaggeration, as all four cost stages, production, installation, removal, and disposal, are eliminated. The advantages of digital transformation go beyond cost savings. All political messages are registered, recorded, and disclosed, ensuring transparency. It becomes immediately clear who delivered which message and when, and false or exaggerated claims are subject to prompt verification. This dismantles the structure in which those with greater money and organizational power dominate physical space and instead creates competition based on policy substance and message quality. The quality of democracy itself is transformed. Despite these advantages, physical banners persist for one simple reason. Penalties for illegal installation do not function effectively. Laws exist, but when enforcement is weak, norms collapse. Politicians who install illegal banners must be subject to investigation, indictment, and punishment under the Public Official Election Act. Deterrence arises only when legal consequences such as fines, invalidation of election results, and restrictions on eligibility to run for office are actually imposed. At the same time, the system must be restructured so that removal and disposal costs previously borne by local governments are reclaimed from violators. Only then will a clear signal be sent to the political sphere that illegality results in loss. The message to the public must be simple and unequivocal. Political banners are not an issue of freedom of expression. They are a problem of structural waste that burns at least KRW 200 billion of public funds every year. Producing approximately 3 million banners and about 6,000 tons of waste annually can no longer be justified in the digital age. A full transition from physical banners to digital platforms reduces costs by at least 90%, increases transparency, and cleans up cities. Politicians who break the law must be punished according to the law, and honest politicians should compete openly and fairly in digital space. Honest citizens no longer judge political sincerity by the number of banners displayed. They demand efficiency, accountability, and common sense governance. A full digital transition of political banners is not an option, it is a necessity. This is the surest way to preserve urban dignity, reduce the cost of democracy, and protect taxpayers' money. Thank you for watching Professor Namyong Lee's commentary, long